So number one thing you actually need to learn when coming to the Philippines is you need to learn the basic Tagalog words. I'm not saying you need to learn the full Tagalog language, but what I'm trying to say is that you need to learn the basic Tagalog words like kumusta, like maganda umaga, maganda hapon, maganda gabi, kabili, and just the basic language which can be able to you can be able to use to interact with just the average Filipino people. Yo, what's up guys, and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. My name is Kanu Chinedu Praise. As you can see by the title of the video, I'm gonna be highlighting things you need to know if you ever plan on coming to the Philippines for vacation, or probably you're coming for a business trip, or probably you're coming for something personal. So in this video I'm going to be highlighting things you really need to know if probably you ever plan on visiting the Philippines. So number one thing you actually need to learn when coming to the Philippines is you need to learn the basic Tagalog words. I'm not saying you need to learn the full Tagalog language, but what I'm trying to say is that you need to learn the basic Tagalog words like kumusta, like maganda umaga, maganda hapon, maganda gabi, kabili, and just the basic language which can be able to you can be able to use to interact with just the average Filipino people. Because when I came to the Philippines, I found it kind of hard to really interact with them in English, because when I browsed on the internet, I actually found out that Philippines is actually the 5th country with the highest speakers of English. So I was thinking maybe generally, everybody knows how to speak English. So when I came at the airport, the immigration officer, we talked, and when I came outside, I tried to buy something, and it was really very hard for me to really communicate with them, because I actually thought, they really speak English very, very well. But as time goes on, I got to find out that, as a foreigner or as a tourist, if you're in the Philippines, you really need to learn the basic Tagalog words. Like the basic, like for example, if you're going to buy something, you say, may biscuit kayo, do you have biscuit? Maganda hapon, maganda gabi, maganda umaga, that's good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're very beautiful, like ikaw maganda, just basic Tagalog words that, that can be able to make you, communicate with the average Filipino people. So you need to know if ever you plan to come to the Philippines is we have the Philippine Time. Philippine Time is more of like, I've actually been in situations where, my flight can be like 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and this flight might be rescheduled to like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So if you actually plan on coming to the Philippines, don't expect that the actual time which maybe your flight or your boat is expected to leave is the exact time you're gonna leave, because sometimes they say 2:30, just assume that you're gonna leave around 4 or 3 p.m. And sometimes, the bank can be open and tell you that the bank is gonna open around 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Now, don't expect that. You just need to know that they actually have an extended time. They call it the Filipino time. Just like in my own country, sometimes they tell you, you have an interview around 5 o'clock. You need to come to this place around 6 o'clock. And when you get there, they might take my extra 30 to 40 minutes before, they can be able to attend to you, or before they can be open. Because I actually have been to some places around the Philippines, you understand? And I tried to book flights. I've even tried to board a boat, a ferry, to different islands, you understand? And what I got to understand that, they tell you your boat is going to be leaving around 2:30 p.m. And when you get there around 2:30 p.m., you find out that 2:30, 3 o'clock, even sometimes 4 o'clock, you're still waiting. And, it's kind of very, very stressful, especially, if it's actually your first time coming to the Philippines. So if you're coming to the Philippines and you really plan on traveling around the Philippines, do not expect that the actual time which you are supposed to leave is the time you're supposed to leave. You just need to have in mind that we call it the Filipino time. Third thing you need to know if you really plan on coming to the Philippines is patient. Really patient. Because as a foreigner and you really plan on really coming to the Philippines, you really need some amount of patience, because I will tell you the Filipino people are very, very patient people. No matter how long that stuff is actually gonna take, you're gonna still be very patient. What I really don't like, to be very, very sincere with you, is like, standing on the queue for a very long time. Especially, during this pandemic time, and even sometime before the pandemic, sometimes you go to the bank, or maybe you go to the to get your money, or probably you're just in some food vendor, just maybe you're somewhere else, and you know, in your mind you feel like, oh, okay, they're actually like three workers, people are actually going to be there to attend to you. But when you get there, you just see this queue, and sometimes the queue might take like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just for you to actually, you know, get what you really want. And it's really very tiring. It's, for me, it was really very tiring. But you know, as time goes on, you know, I just got used to it, because you know, I'm a man, you know. So as a human being, we all need to, you know, adjust and get used to, you know, some certain things, you know, or wherever we find ourselves. So if you're a foreigner and you plan on coming to the Philippines, and you are not really used to queuing up, or maybe taking time, or maybe going to the bank and cashing out your money, or maybe getting something else, as you're coming to the Philippines, you need to just have this in mind, that you need to be very patient, extremely very patient. Because you know, if you're not patient, to be honest with you, like, you're not really gonna be able to stay in the Philippines, to be very honest with you. So what I really need you to do is be patient if really you really want to stay in the Philippines. Thing you need to know before you're coming to the Philippines is the Filipino people really hate bossy people, to be honest with you. They might not actually say it in front of you, but you know, they might not really like it. You know, there are some foreigners who just come to the Philippines and they feel like, okay, the Philippines is, you know, not really rich, or probably they're impoverished, they're third world country, and they try to look down on them and try to, you know, make them feel inferior, even though they are in their own country. It's really pisses the Filipino people off, you know. Like irrespective of maybe where you come from, whether you're from America or you're from maybe any developed country, or maybe probably your parents are very rich, you know, the Filipino people actually like it, you know, when you are very humble as a foreigner, to be honest with you. If you're very humble, you're gonna really find it very easy for you to interact with the Filipino people. You know, there are some foreigners who come and they say Filipinos are like this, Filipinos are like this, but they haven't really checked themselves to see if maybe there is something they're actually doing that is making the Filipino people really, you know, act towards them like that. You know, I just feel that, you know, if you're in the Philippines, you need to be, as a foreigner, you need to really be very humble. You need to, like, actually, you know, they said if you're in Rome, you need to behave like Rome, you understand? So I feel that if you find yourself in the Philippines as a foreigner, you need to be very calm. You know, try to, you know, live an average life. Don't try to be bossy or try to feel like, you know, you're rich and, you know, you can look down on the Filipino people, because really that's exactly what Filipino really hate about some of the foreigners who come to the Philippines. So it's the transportation system. So what I mean to say is this, you know, the major form of transportation here in the Philippines is called tricycle and jeepney. The jeepney is the converted bus which they used during the World War I, World War II, or during the Philippine War era. So it was converted into a kind of bus. And also the tricycle is more of like a machine and a motorcycle attached with an extra seaters that makes it very possible for you to, you know, accommodate like 2 or 3 people. And you know, sometimes this stuff can be very tiring and it can really be very stressful, because for you to go into the jeepney, the jeepney really emits smoke, and this smoke can be very dangerous or very toxic to your health, especially if you're a foreigner, you're coming to the Philippines. And also this tricycle can be a little bit very uncomfortable for you if really it's your first time coming to the Philippines. So if you're a foreigner and you ever plan on coming to the Philippines, just know that if you really want to maneuver your way around the Philippines, you really need to get used to the tricycle and jeepney form of, you know, transportation. But also there are also other forms of transportation. We have the taxi, the train, and other stuff. But if you really want to really go around the Philippines, like go into some, you know, rural area, like areas that are not really that they find it very hard for you to go inside, you need to actually have a tricycle, because the major form of transportation here is just tricycle and jeepney. It's really very cheap, very affordable, but it's not really comfortable. So as a foreigner, you need to get prepared, because you know, sometimes you might not really find a taxi around your area, and the only option is the tricycle and the jeepney form of transportation. So if you're a foreigner, you need to get used to it, and probably, if you get used to it, definitely it's gonna be like a normal part. Like for me, coming here to the Philippines, the transportation, jeepney form of transportation and the tricycle form of transportation, I would say as a foreigner, an average foreigner, I would say I really enjoyed it. But you know, as time goes on, you get used to it and probably you enjoy it, because you know, for me, it has really saved me, you know, some couple of bucks in the Philippines. Thing you need to know if you're a foreigner, you ever plan on coming to the Philippines, is you need to be very wise when, you know, commuting around the Philippines, because you know, Philippines are very hospitable. The way they're going to talk to you, like you ask yourself, like maybe the way they talk to you, you feel like, you know, they're actually saying the truth, they're trying to make you feel okay. because coming when I came to the Philippines, I boarded the taxi. So there was a meter, you understand, and the taxi driver used a kind of a plaster to cover the meter, and I told him I was just going to somewhere in Makati. And when I actually saw the distance when we were going, I found out that the distance was not really that much, but I wasn't really paying much attention because I'm still trying to get used to the transportation system in the Philippines. So when we got there, he said it was 700 pesos, and I was like, whoa, 700 pesos just for like 3 to 4 kilometers from, I mean, exactly where I was. And I don't have a choice, and I gave it to him. But after I now go to understand that, I mean, I boarded another taxi to that same location some other time ago, and it was just only 250 pesos. And I told the taxi driver that, I mean, like, I boarded a taxi like a few days ago, and it was 700 pesos. And I don't know, it was just, I was really very, very surprised. And he told me, like, you're foreigner, and maybe he thinks maybe he knew that you don't really know where you're going to. So that was why he, asked that price from you. So if you're a foreigner, you come into the Philippines, you need to be extremely very, very wise on how, you really spend your money in transportation. Because here in Philippines, some people feel that, if you're a foreigner in the Philippines, they assume you have much money, and they try to use that as an advantage, to get extra cash from you. Or if you ever plan on coming to the Philippines, is Filipino people don't really like strong perfumes. I was commuting in a jeepney, and there's a perfume I brought from my country. It's an Arabic perfume, so I sprayed it and I entered the jeepney, and I was really very shocked. All the Filipino, they covered their nose, and it was kind of embarrassing in a way, but I don't know, probably I don't really know why, but I just felt because the perfume I actually sprayed was really very, 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 very strong, and it wasn't really pleasant. Some people actually, some generally Filipinos, and they don't really like perfumes that are very, very strong. Like there are some perfumes that are very strong, and it makes them breathe or feel uncomfortable when you're around. Yeah, Filipinos are more of like the bottle sprayer, like they have this spray perfume, body spray, like not too strong perfume, because if you spray too strong perfume, they're gonna cover their nose, and when they cover their nose, you feel like they are trying to cover your nose because maybe you're a black guy, or maybe you're a foreigner, or maybe you're smelling. It's just that Filipino, most of the Filipino don't really like, majority don't really like perfumes that are very, very strong. So if you're a foreigner, you're coming to the Philippines, just have in mind that they don't really like strong perfume. So probably don't even bring a perfume when you're coming. Just maybe when you come to Philippines, you go into any of the stores here in the Philippines, and you find perfumes that an average Filipino really uses. Then if maybe you leave the country, or maybe probably when you leave the Philippines, then you can start using your perfume. Because as a foreigner, sometimes if you're really, when you come to a country and the way they're actually treating you, if you don't really understand the way they're treating you, you may actually feel very offended. Because I felt offended when that happened to me. But we all learn, we all get to learn every time, even though we feel bad. But sometimes some certain things will actually make you feel bad for you to actually learn better. So with that, I really had to like change my perfume and get used to the Filipino perfume. The last thing you really need to know when you come into the Philippines is Filipinos are very, very expensive. They tell expensive jokes. What I mean to say is this: like a Filipino can just say some words that will make you feel pissed, but on a normal time he's just trying to make fun of you, but in a very, very expensive way. Because I would say I've counted so many times Filipinos have actually said some harsh words to me. To me, it's really very offensive, but it's just a joke, you understand? Sometimes a Filipino can just tell you putang ina or maybe boninam in a very joking way. If really you don't really understand what that Filipino is trying to say, or maybe you guys don't understand you don't understand the communication as a foreigner, you might actually find it very offensive, and you might try to retaliate or fight with the Filipino person. So what I get you to understand is like Filipinos are very, very good at telling expensive jokes. So if they say some words that might get you offended, just know that it's not, they don't really mean it. It's just their whole, that's exactly how they really that's exactly how they are, you understand? So if a Filipino just tell you gago, or maybe tells you something that on a normal time, if someone says this to you from your country, you might actually get mad. You just know that he or she is just trying to joke with you, But there are also some Filipinos who, when they're angry, they say those words, you understand? But when the Filipino, when you actually guys are actually having conversation, or maybe just like a friendly conversation, if he or she does that, you don't take it in a very different way. Because in the Philippines, I tell you, the thing you actually that might actually get you angry on several occasions is Filipinos really love to really tell, like they will insult you in a way that it's funny to them, but to you it's really very, 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 very provocative. Like it's gonna get you very pissed off. So if you're foreigner and you're watching this video, if really you plan on coming to the Philippines, I tell you the truth, you need to be extremely, they call it being patient, you understand? You need to be very patient. You need to get to learn at least the basic Tagalog words. And also you need to be very wise if maybe you're commuting in that around the Philippines. Like you need to know when the Filipino is trying to cheat you. And also you need to also get used to the traditional form of transportation, like I said, the jeepney transportation and the tricycle form of transportation. And also you need to be very patient, like probably you're going to ski on the bank, you need to be extremely very patient when coming to the Philippines. And that's it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. But before I continue, before I end this video, if you have been watching my video and probably you've forgotten to subscribe, or this is your first time watching my video, please consider subscribing and please turn on your notification bell so that you can be able to get future video even after I upload. And don't forget to smash the like button and also comment on what you think about this video. So without no further ado, Alam.